Hello, my name is Michael Lambert, and today I want to talk a little bit about what's been going on in the last week or so. Now that the Queen's funeral is all over, and we're beginning to hear a little bit about what our government is going to be doing. Now, I'm actually making this video from deep within enemy territory. I'm way behind enemy lines. I'm actually in Italy. I don't know if you've been to Italy or not, but it's all sunshine and scenery and fresh food and stuff. You get bored with it after a while. And the Italians, no wonder the people in Spain get so cross. Some of them don't even speak English. Can you believe that? I don't know what they teach them in the schools here, but you have to shout at them a lot of the time. But anyway, I'm surviving, and I'm sure I'll get out safely in due course. One of the things, as a result of being here, is that I've been able to, you get a different perspective when you're away, and I missed much of the prelude to the state funeral, and I'm sure the television would have been absolutely saturated with films of the Queen and her early life and people who'd met her and so on. And I hadn't really intended to watch the funeral, but I switched the television on just to see how the Italian television were going to be treating it. And when I switched it on, it was the beginning. People were arriving in the Abbey, and within minutes I was sucked into it. And I found it absolutely fascinating. Now, regardless or not of whether you think it's right that so much money should be spent on a funeral when there are people depending upon food banks and there's so much poverty and so on. Regardless of that, I thought the whole thing was so brilliantly done, and I thought it showed the very, very best of our country, that we can organise things so well, so efficiently. And when you think, we all know they've been planning for the funeral for 20 years probably, but to actually organise it all in such a short space of time, or the invitations, or the arrangement of transport and for feeding, and just the logistics of dealing with all those thousands of soldiers and thousands of guests, and it all went off so perfectly and so brilliantly that I felt quite proud about it. It was a bit like the London 2012, which was something else which was extremely complicated but was well organised. And I started thinking that we are so good at some things. We're such a great nation. I come on here every week and I grumble about the government, and I grumble about all sorts of things. But basically, I'm as big a patriot as anybody. I think Britain is a wonderful country. We've such wonderful people, and we've achieved so much and punched so much above our weight in the world. And I thought the whole funeral itself showed us in our very best light, and the whole world, of course, will have seen it. And it was interesting to contrast that with our politicians who appeared at the funeral. The three who stood out most of all were Truss, who gave an address which would have been more interesting had she read the telephone book. That woman is so dull, it's stupefyingly dull, and lacking in any character whatsoever. Then there was our new Chancellor who was impersonating somebody who was off his head on cocaine, I think. He just was out of it and behaved absolutely disgracefully. But he's a man of immense arrogance, and I'm sure he will be rather irritated that people didn't approve of his behaviour. Nonetheless, it was thoroughly shocking. And then the third person who stood out, I think, was Johnson, this shell of a man, this miserable failure who I think is already now beginning to realise that he's going to be known for the rest of his life as the man who really destroyed the UK, because that's what he has done, really, particularly as a result of Brexit and as a result of his dishonesty, his incompetence, and just total failure. So what have we been learning about how the government is going to make us, a very successful, high-paid, high-skilled, levelled-up, global-beating economy? Well, it seems that Truss is, as she said, she's going to go for growth. This is a revolutionary concept, going for growth. This is the first time any economy anywhere in the world has actually wanted to grow. But anyway, that's what she's going to do. And she's identified the way to do this is to give lots and lots and lots and lots of money to very rich people. And that maybe they'll spend some of it, and maybe the rest of the population will benefit a little bit if they spend some of the money. They might well decide to buy property abroad or whatever, but who knows? A bit like they might spend a bit of money. And also, we're going to give lots and lots of money, which we're all going to borrow, to energy companies, so that they can make these huge windfall profits. Because if we didn't ensure they made these immense £170 billion of windfall profits, they may not invest in the UK. They may just go away. I mean, then we wouldn't have any petrol, would we? That would be terrible, gas or electricity. So anyway, at the centre of all this is the aforementioned Kwasi Kwarteng, the new Chancellor of the Exchequer. Now, he started very well on his first day by sacking his principal private secretary, Tom Scholar, a very distinguished civil servant. And it would seem that the idea is to get rid of somebody who might have provided some independent criticism of government policy. And so he had to be got rid of. And it is a rather ominous sign that the government intends to politicise the civil service, because they don't want anybody to argue, because they know what a mess we're in, and they don't want anybody talking about it or criticising from within. So the first thing that Kwarteng did after sacking Tom Scholar was to announce that the upper limit on bankers' bonuses would be removed. This is so that, as I mentioned last week, so that very, very rich bankers will all flock to the UK, where they can earn lots and lots of money in a failing economy. Incidentally, on the question of rich people's bonuses and so on, the pay of the average FTSE 100 CEO last year went up by 39%. So it's good to know that some people are not suffering in the way that some of us are. Kwarteng also said that whilst he's going to be giving a statement, an update or whatever, or some sort of policy statement this week, he's not going to publish the OBR's economic forecast. Nobody quite knows why, but it could possibly be because they're not absolutely glowing and not terribly positive. So that, for the first time, is not going to happen. He's, or at least the government is going to cancel the proposed increase in corporation tax. There is an argument for that says that if you increase corporation tax, then companies just put their prices up, and so it's an anti-inflationary move to cancel the increase. But I think that's questionable. And of course, the national health insurance increases are being reversed, which of course will benefit those who earn more. The more you earn, the more you get. So generally speaking, people who are well off are going to be a lot better off, and all the rest of us are going to have to work a lot harder. Rees-Mogg announced that one of the benefits of Brexit is that we can abolish the 48-hour working week, which means that people who aren't currently working 48 hours can jolly well work a lot longer if they can't make ends meet. And Kwarteng, along with following the policies that he discussed in his famous book, Britannia Unchained, which was written with Liz Truss and the charming Priti Patel, he says that benefit claimants, if they're not working enough, they should work more, or they will risk losing their benefits. So it's really a clamp down on poor people in order to make sure that all these rich people get lots and lots and lots of more money. And so we're going for growth. Now, we're going for growth at a time that the pound is collapsing. It's actually fallen 8% against the dollar in the last 3 months. Now, that means that everything we import because almost all imports, international trade is done in dollars. Almost everything we import is now 8% more expensive than it was 3 months ago. So that's a bit more of a squeeze. Inflation, of course, we know is about 10%. It's the highest it's been for many, many years. And interest rates have just gone up again. So anybody who's got a mortgage, anybody who's got loans from the bank and so on are going to have to be paying a lot more, which includes a lot of businesses are going to be paying a lot more, a bit more of a squeeze on them. Incidentally, one of the aspects of the decision to give all this money to the power companies so that they can reduce our bills temporarily and protect their profits is that for businesses, this will only last for 6 months. So if you're running a business and you were to be faced with immense increases in the cost of gas and electricity, you can now relax because you will not be faced with these huge increases for another 6 months. So you can probably struggle on for 6 months, but you'd be unwise to invest or to try and expand your business in any way during that time, because after 6 months, who knows where we're going to be. And with all this pressure on prices, with prices for food and everything going up, as we know, as I've said many times before, there is so much less disposable income available to be spending on things like restaurants and bars and all things that are not absolutely essential. And so all these businesses are going to be squeezed. And so inevitably we have a shrinking economy. And the idea that by attracting bankers to come here because they can earn more money than they're already earning, the idea that that is a way of solving all our problems, I mean, it's really beyond belief. And when you look around, we've got the strikes, haven't we? There are going to be endless strikes. I'm sure there are so many more planned. And so many more unions are looking at striking. We've got this immense NHS crisis with a huge waiting list. There are people, I think it's something like 10% of the population are now waiting for health treatment. I mean, that's a staggering amount. 6.3 million, is it? I mean, it's a staggering amount. And if you think about it, all these people who are waiting, some waiting for ages, and some even a year or more, some people are waiting. A lot of those people are unable to work. And so we've got this terrible shortage of workers everywhere. Well, half the time it's people, a lot of the people that used to come from the EU and cannot any longer, but an awful lot of these people are waiting for medical treatment. And you've got people already suffering such poverty, the food banks and so on. And when you make these videos, it's you have to be careful about making predictions, because you put a video up and if in a few months' time what you've predicted doesn't happen, then you look a bit silly and people are going to be pointed out to you and so on. And for that reason, I think most people will be unwise making predictions. But I'm going to make a prediction here, and I think what is going to happen is this. I think the whole population now sees through what the government is doing. And then I think the whole population can see that this government is clueless and that they're kind of panicking because they haven't really got any policies to get us out of this terrible mess that Johnson took us into with Brexit and the damage that's been done to the economy as a result. And they really haven't got any ideas. And I think this bankers' bonuses and cutting taxes and all this is a huge gamble. They're going to be borrowing hundreds of billions of pounds in order to reduce taxes, thinking that's going to suddenly generate new business, which it isn't. And I think people are seeing through this in the same way that I think more and more people are seeing that Johnson was just a charlatan and is responsible for so much of this. But I think what is going to happen is this. I think maybe sometime in November, perhaps after the party conferences, I think people, when it's getting a bit colder and you've got to have you want to have the heating on and so on, and when you're really struggling and when there's less fresh fruit and vegetables and so on, and when things are getting more and more difficult and maybe the mortgages go up and so on, people are actually going to say, we've had enough. And I am pretty confident there is going to be social unrest. I think people are going to be on the streets, and I think we can expect something quite dramatic between now and Christmas, because you cannot just squeeze people endlessly. You can if circumstances are such that people have to be squeezed because there aren't resources, but you cannot squeeze people while you're giving such huge benefits to the tiny, tiny number at the top who are so rich. People really just don't think that's fair. And if nothing else, we as a nation are very much believers in fair play. And this is really, really unfair, what is happening. And so, as I say, I think there's going to be huge violence. I think there are going to be riots all over the country. And, who knows where that will lead. I don't see how this government is going to survive. I have no idea what will happen to bring it down, but I just think they are so far divorced from reality. I think, the game's up. I think people know what is happening. Anyway, that's the rather depressing take I have on it this week. Just a reminder that my little book is coming out the end of the month, 1st of October. I'll tell you more about that next week. And in the meantime, if you watch this far, thank you very much. And until next time, bye for now.